Hi, our goal today in this training is to examine cyberbullying and just take a look at our policies and our prevention efforts. Our BOI mandated SAFE trainings cover bullying, but we have included a copy of this slideshow for you to have links and videos so you can revisit and explore per our regular protocol. We will take a look at what this is, its effects, stats in vulnerable groups, and then a little bit about reporting and prevention plans. Cyberbullying is any participation in acts of intimidation and threats or willful and repeated harm to someone inflicted through the use of electronic devices. Messages of hate and malice about a person? It is. It is not, however, anonymous. It does not have anonymity, even though the users think that hiding behind a screen is. There is also often retaliation that may occur, and we want to prevent those things. So it's not okay to bully back. One unique element of online bullying that distinguishes it from the brick and mortar playground incidents is that it has a wide audience. As it's shared online, there are ripples that can happen and a tidal wave of damage with so many people knowing. If I asked you to list 5 kinds of cyberbullying, would you be able to? There's something called outing and dissing, raping. So many different kinds. If you are not aware of them, please click this video and it will give you some really great information about all 10 forms of cyberbullying. Disclosing personal info just to embarrass is different than showing a photo, having a fake profile, etc. Our district policy reiterates our state policy. It says cyberbullying is using or causing another to use the internet, cell phone, or other device to send or post text, video, or images to intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly harm, embarrass, threaten, or intimidate an individual regardless of whether the individual directed, consented to, or acquiesced in the conduct or voluntarily accessed the electronic communication. So please note that specifically our policy in this state is, in our district, is that even causing another to do this, so if it is a group and you aren't the one pressing the button, you are still going to be liable because of this policy. We need to take a look at our mental health issues. The Board of Directors recognizes that cyberbullying is prohibited by federal and state laws, and the likelihood of students and employees to be successful in work is greatly reduced because they suffer severe issues of depression, suicide, and etc. So if you look at the impact here, we've got physical impact of bad health. We have mental impact, mental decline, and socially there are effects. In fact, there are social anxieties. We have statistics of high levels of social anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts. And you also have often symptoms that occur where there could be drugs and alcohol, skip classes, and other effects that are devastating. So how prevalent is this problem? Well, we've got about 95% of teens using devices. They have an access to mobile devices that give them access anytime. And it's very prevalent on social media, being the highest places. Top 3, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. So we have some serious problems. 7 in 10 were exposed before 18. 37% of children experience cyberbullying. So even at young ages, this is happening. There's most common way of it being transferred is just mean comments. But we have this 35% of students saying that they shared and laughed at a photo. We have 61% of teens reporting that they were bullied because of just their appearance. These are concerns. So if you look and think, most of us have had some experience as a victim, a bystander, as a supporter or a defender or a perpetrator. So 70% of students said they had rumors shared about them. 42% of kids said they bullied online. 1 in 10 have bullied others. So I think it's important, most important, that we understand some of the vulnerable groups to be watchful of. So if we look here, we have clear statistics that talk about girls. There's bullying a lot as far as appearance are the reasons for the bullying. And we have students in the LGBT community that are at high risk, as well as students with disabilities. Let's talk a little bit more about this gender disparity. There is definitely something clearly going on with 15% of younger girls and 41% of older girls experiencing bullying, whereas only 6% of boys seem to have this happen. Because bullying is about power and tearing down someone else to get what they want, the boys usually will use name calling of calling a boy gay versus girls who tend to name call other things. But girls are 2 times as likely to be victims. The Utah has a very clear policy requirement for schools to prevent and respond to bullying behavior. The district actually reports to the state on this. So we have to figure out our own plan and how we are stacking up to meet the requirements. So let's evaluate our plan. It seems that we are compliant with most of the district terms. We have specific definitions for bullying and cyberbullying. We've just borrowed the states. That's what the district has taken, those exact words. We seem to have some graduated consequences and remedial actions. However, I'm curious. We have a yellow slip, red slip, and wondering if we might want a committee to look at that a little more closely to see if it's really clear. We have procedures for reporting and investigating, seems to be pretty good. And our policies all talk about off-campus. So this is important because this is what happens in the courts, is when an incident happens off campus, are we going to be backed up? Speech or behavior resulting in substantial disruption of learning environment or infringes on the right of others, that the students can be disciplined. So the area I'm kind of worrying the most about, or that I thought we should look at, is procedures for preventing cyberbullying. I'm not sure that we have that. We could probably strengthen that. So here's 4 areas that might help the practices that might strengthen our school. One is to be having some discussions about or debunking the misperceptions about digital behavior. Another area would be teaching online safety. We've talked a little bit about that actually, and I think a lot of us are doing this one. We build empathy and understanding. I think this specifically is that cultural, that diversity issue. I think that we could strengthen this as well in our school. Learning strategies to reject digital abuse in their lives. And I think this one we also could do. So I think these 3, maybe we're a little weekend, we could look and have a committee look at those and suggest some curriculum that might help us strengthen our school. Utah Code has very specific policy updated in 2018 to comply with the guidance of the federal government. It defined terms and specified local and school responsibilities in reporting and investigating, preventing reoccurrence, discipline, consequences that are district approved for us, interesting, and confidentiality, and even some instances that are turned over to the law. So let's look a little bit at our courts. Our courts are generally oriented towards First Amendment rights of freedom of expression, except in the case where intervention and discipline is allowed, when we substantially or materially disrupt learning. If this incident did that, if it interfered with educational process and school discipline, if it utilized school-owned tech to harass or threatened other students or infringed on their civil rights. The courts seem to back us up. So I think these are important areas for us to be aware of. So things to know on and off school grounds. How much authority do we have, and when do we act if speech and behaviors are threatening? So we have culpability, I guess, to do something, even off grounds. Substantial interference with school discipline and rights of others. If it violates the First or the Fourth Amendment, we need to be on it. If you learn of victimization, then our duty is to stop it and ensure that the safety of the targeted. So we'll look at that just a little more closely. If we learn of something's happening, if we become aware of something, our duty is stop it. We need to respond appropriately to the type of harassment. Then we ensure that the targeted person is safe long-term. It's called comprehensive reprogramming. This is a long-term thing so that it actually doesn't reoccur. And then that we've done our due diligence. So in real time that the behaviors are really reduced or they're stopped altogether. So this is our obligation as educators. Let's talk about a little bit about students reporting. If it's a younger student, teaching this little curriculum where you don't respond if someone is being mean, ignore them, shut it down, turn it off, and tell a trusted adult, and then you'll delete, block, or unfollow whoever those people are, I think is helpful to keep it simple. And then for our older kids, there's a lot of different things that we could do, suggest and teach them about preventing and standing up to cyberbullying. Stand up. There's a whole bunch of different links for you. This poster is free, so you can download it if you'd like. Put it in your room. Talk about it. Thank you for joining me for this. I hope we can get some progress made on some of our prevention plans, and best wishes.